There are certain moments that I really realize the purpose of this channel. You know, you might think that it's just me using you to bully me to train for the marathon that I'm running in a couple of weeks, or maybe, just maybe, that it's just going to be a bunch of meaningless jokes and stupid stuff that we're looking at. Right, some of the funny side of the world of football, but that it never gets that serious. But that's not the truth. You see, sometimes this channel really does get that serious. You see, sometimes this channel can make a difference in the world. You see, Zealandism, it can serve a purpose to try to educate, to try to progress society, to try and push us towards a utopian future that we all long for, and we know that we can achieve, but we just need that little push. And maybe Zealandism is that push. Me sitting down in this incredibly luscious, voluptuous chair to talk to you about whatever the hell I'm going to talk about today, that gives your life meaning and purpose and creates that greater utopia. Maybe we can create world peace on this channel. We can make real change. And today we're covering one of those topics. It's either that, or we're talking about the most insane hairdo you've ever seen on an international footballer. Which one seems more? It's number two. You're right, it's number two. Somebody tag me in this. This you only see in CONCACAF. In full transparency, I have known about this guy for a while. I just forgot about him because I was going to make a video about him last time I heard about him, and then I forgot he existed. But I remember he existed. I just forgot to make a video. Anybody, somebody tag me in this. Here's this man in all his glory, about to check in for the Anguilla national team in CONCACAF Nations League. Right there, that man. That is hair, by the way. You can see the assistant referee is investigating something that seems to be around this man's waist. That would be a hairband. Not used for anything that a hairband is normally used for, like restraining a hair above the waistline, or sorry, above the nipple line. He is now using a hairband to restrain his hair at the waist. He is wearing a hairband like a belt to restrain dreadlocks that go down to the back of his calves. I just can't get over the fact that the referee is investigating that belt, and he's like, come on, man. Don't you see this every day? It's just another guy with dreadlocks down to his calves playing international football. This is ridiculous. And he heads out on the field. Boom. There he is, jogging around, hair flopping around like crazy. Honestly, I'm watching this. The hairband is not accomplishing nearly as much as you would think it should be. Right? This hair is still flopping all over the place. If he goes for a header, he might smack somebody 5 feet away from him if his hair flips around and actually comes flying out of this thing. And there's no way that doesn't weigh like 20 pounds, dude. Seriously, there's no way. This guy's name is Aiden Skipio. Right, which might sound like the name of some guy that almost became emperor 2,000 years ago, right? But no, he's actually just a player for the Anguilla national team. Somebody that was born and raised in Anguilla, played for the Anguilla youth national teams. But as kind of tragically so often happens for these guys that come through and start playing for national teams in the Caribbean, he wasn't able to make a career out of it, which meant he had to stop playing for the national team as well. And he actually moved and got a job and whatever. He now lives in London. So I realize a lot of the people that watch this channel are English. You could run into Aiden Skipio in London. The man lives and works in London. He has a BA from the University of Hull, for crying out loud, right? But at the age of 30 or 31, we aren't quite sure since his date of birth is just given as a year, kind of like all the Aiden Skipios of old. The Skipios from way back in the day, they don't get an actual birth date either. All the calendars are all weird. They don't have the same excuse here except for the last name, but his date of birth is just 1991. He's now 32, 33 years old, and he's been accepting call-ups over the last 3 years to come and play for Anguilla. And when you talk to any of the 5 people from Anguilla, that's unfair. There's 15,000 people that live in Anguilla right now and a lot more in the diaspora. They say Aiden Skipio is actually one of the best players on the national team. Although I will say the fact that he lives in London and the fact that he apparently plays for a club called Roaring Lions FC in Anguilla seems to be a little contradictory. The truth is, I don't exactly know where Aiden Skipio lives. Would love to talk to the guy. I'd love to have a beer with the guy. I would love to get into personal range of such voluptuous hair. I'm overusing the word voluptuous, point taken. But in that respect, he is something of an international man of mystery that just spawns in for every one of these matches. And I will say, he spawns in for a lot of them. He played as a sub against Belize in CONCACAF Nations League. In a qualifying match for the World Cup, he did play against Turks and Caicos as well in a match that they actually ended up drawing. Now, Anguilla is definitely one of the 20 worst national teams in the world, but this guy is still able to play football at a level that is very likely better than you, with an unbelievably long amount of hair strapped to his waist. And if you're wondering why somebody would do this, I actually do have some sort of explanation for you, and that would be Rastafarianism. Now, I don't know if Aiden Skipio just grew his hair out because he thought it looked cool, but the likely explanation is that he is a Rastafarian, or is at least influenced by Rastafarian culture, which is incredibly prominent in the Caribbean, which encourages the growing of dreadlocks as a way to connect to the Bible and in these sorts of things that I'm not going to bore you with too much. But there is a cultural and or religious prerogative in the Caribbean to grow out your dreadlocks as much as possible, and that is something that clearly at least part of Aiden Skipio has taken to heart, because these dreadlocks are absolutely outrageous. And that resulted in this being posted on some website I've never heard of called 9gag. And the reason that I bring that up is because the comments to this post are really the main point of this video. Now, the video is obviously to point out, just for your amusement, that there is a player on the Anguilla national team who plays regularly and has a BA from the University of Hull that has dreadlocks down to his calves, and the longer he plays into his career, the longer they're going to get, and eventually he's going to be tripping over them, which is probably going to be a good sign that it's time for him to retire. But no, it's the comments on this picture. A post that says, longest hair in football history, Aiden Skipio from Anguilla. His hair is so long that he needs to tie it around his waist during matches. Then we have this super genius named Psycho Lek, who says, imagine wasting your own potential just for looks. Pathetic. Leaving aside the cultural or religious significance of having long dreadlocks in Afro-Caribbean culture, we then have somebody who responds, Tiana Smith, who says, first of all, I am from Anguilla. Scipio's one of the most talented players who got shipped off to St. Lucia for how good he is to represent Anguilla. So before you talk about people, learn their history. To which Psycho Lek astutely responds, haha, very funny because he is not even close to Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, or Lewandowski. You know, I hadn't thought about it that way. Maybe if Aiden Skipio cut his hair, he would score 1,000 professional goals, but you know, he's really missing out on that kind of potential by leaving his hair long. Nothing in the high leagues or achievements which might be, if not, this fucking hair. So the point this guy is attempting to make is that without this hair, we don't know for sure if he couldn't have been Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi. At which point, I'm going to go ahead and confirm that if you put a 50-pound lead weight on Cristiano Ronaldo's head, that guy would still have made it to a top league somewhere, let alone dreads that this guy is clearly able to play through perfectly fine. Right, there are plenty of people in the Anguillan diaspora that are decent at football, probably better than me, probably better than you, that could play for the national team, that have normal hair, and they don't get called up over this guy because he has the ability to kick a ball and, I don't know, play in World Cup qualifiers. I don't have that. But Psycho Lek wasn't done. Comes back for more and says, and they are 3 old players at the end of their career, LOL, still didn't top them. He's not even better than Messi now. You know, the Lionel Messi that scored more goals than appearances played in MLS, which is, you know, depending on how you rate it, at least a top 20, 25 league in the world. But Psycho Lek's going for this high-browed argument. We've got to go to Artie Kriva down here, who says, if he sits down on the toilet, does his hair form a poop net under him? Now, these are the hard-hitting scientific questions that need to be asked in response to this unbelievable hair. But it's not just those logistical questions that made the cut here. We also have very practical, very tactical questions. The next Pep Guardiola asks, states, I should say, use lots of hair gel and make him a goalie. Now that is a very reasonable idea. You get a lot of hair gel, you stick his hair off in every direction. He might be able to cover the vast majority of the goal, especially with a little dive back and forth. I mean, come on, think of the possibilities here. The tactical genius doesn't stop there either. Damn, imagine he ties it above his head, how many headers he could win. Seriously, if you grow your hair out long enough and stack it, he can turn his head that way, and I mean, he can elevate above just basically anybody. But then there's the violent options. If he's feeling particularly aggressive, what if he uses his hair like a baseball bat. Is that technically against the rules of the game? We may never know, but Aiden Skipio does have the opportunity to, he could make a tackle with his hair. Aiden, if you're listening, I have one request.